You ever seen a film?
Sing us a song, you're the piano man. Did I ever tell you guys? I know I told you guys. Oh, man.
What about that one time in band camp?
Oh, she had a flute. It was crazy. I was like, what are you doing? That's so inappropriate. You're in band camp. Like, oh. Welcome to the Tower Pod Watchcast. I am your host with the most, packing where I'm lacking, Michael. Yeah, just chuck it.
Oh,
chuck
shit. You're actually a good catcher, Delo. I wonder why.
Carlos, when you have a face like this, you gotta learn how to catch hands. Because they're coming.
You gotta learn how to catch hands.
They're coming.
Welcome back to
Where you been?
MikeCast.
Mike.
The only cast where Mike has to mic it up. When did you know that you had lost faith as me in me as a filmmaker and a speaker of the House Representatives? It's voting season. If you're watching this, it's no longer voting season, but if you're found a way, please vote.
Yeah, did you guys vote? I didn't vote.
I voted.
It was too long. The lines were too long.
No. Well, that's why they extended till the 8th, because of people like you who say, oh, I didn't vote in time.
Are you allowed to vote?
Why wouldn't I be allowed to vote?
What about that time with the kids? Welcome back to
Dude, the energy.
Where Is He Now? The Castro edition.
Where's the dog killer now?
Dog killer's out there.
He's out there. He's probably voting. Welcome back to the
WatchTower podcast. The only podcast where we can speak at the same time and not sound stupid.
It's the Unison podcast.
Not unisex. Unison. To my favorite unisex film.
Which is?
She's a girl, Damon. That's
Rushing through the door.
grabbing on your balls. Welcome back to the WatchTower podcast, the film review podcast of the TowerCast Network. I am your fellow host, Carlos de la Torre. Joining me are my fellow co-host, Mr. Michael Lalo.
I'm here and proud.
And my fellow co-host,
John Eric Castro. I'm also here and I'm also proud.
back, baby. We're back. This is good. This is weekly episodes coming back to record.
I know. I can't believe I saw you a week ago.
I know,
You've changed so much.
You've changed, man. Ever since that
You've
day,
changed.
You've changed. That's,
We have the acting perspective, Castro, who already told you his name, but we got to remind you.
We got Mr. Austin Young making sure we're sounding good and looking good over there on the ones and twos, and he's waving when there's no fucking camera on you. Jeez!
He's blowing the audience kisses in the background. Let's remember.
Say hi, pal?
Stand by.
He has a mic.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Yo.
We're not that broke, guys, so we can afford to give him a mic. Just so it's a shitty mic.
I apologize.
Presenting the Yo Man of the Hour.
The Yo Man. So, we're here to discuss a film
We just watched.
that we just screened together, that we're trying to make a habit of. Getting together, screening the film, recording the show for you guys.
Yeah.
So, a perspective can't get any fresher. This was Michael Lalao's pick.
It was my pick.
What's interesting about him picking this is not 2 weeks ago he tells me, I got an idea for a film. I want a co-writer. I want to get your perspective so I can, write this. And it's a very sci-fi-esque picture. Very much inspired and influenced by this picture.
Definitely.
So you've been in a sci-fi headspace for a little bit.
I've been in a sci-fi headspace, some would say since I was born.
Sure. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
That makes a lot.
No, but no, I got a new idea, and I'm really trying to actualize on it. I think whenever we get a story idea, the hardest part is putting pen to paper, but sure. I'm doing the right approach. I have the idea. I've been writing down thoughts here and there and bits of dialogue, and I'm now it's the process of screening cinema and really trying to see what I want to cultivate and what I want to take into this film. And this film definitely is a cornerstone of all the elements I want to include. It's Ex Machina.
Ex Machina, 2014, Alex Garland directorial debut.
That's not what you're going to call him.
Director Garland. IMDb refers to this man as Director Garland. So Director Garland.
Director Garland.
will henceforth be known.
We put some respect in his name.
No, directorial debut, 2014.
Oh, wow.
It stars what's his name?
Alice.
Jeez, I don't want to
Oh,
mispronounce it. I'll get his name.
He's
a terrific actor.
It's a first
And
Ricardo.
Oscar Isaac.
And Oscar Isaac. It does phenomenal in this film.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we're talking about Domhnall Gleeson, Alicia Vikander, and Oscar Isaac amongst...
Alicia?
It's Alicia, right? Not Alicia.
Not Alicia
In
Keys.
Spanish, it's Alicia. In English, it's Alicia.
Where's the SH?
There is no. The CI is the SH.
Alicia?
Yeah, like Alicia Keys.
Anyway.
That has an SH though.
No, it doesn't.
Shit.
It most certainly does not.
Okay, my bad.
This is not the grammar podcast.
This is not
Yeah.
the grammar podcast.
And if you've ever seen me spell anything on Instagram, you know it's not the grammar podcast.
My apologies.
So, before we get into the film, which I'm very interested in talking about because it was an interesting film. And it's been recommended to me by everyone and their mother. And I never saw it in its entirety. I just saw key scenes, which now we're in full context, obviously, right? But before we get into that, I want to tell you guys a joke. Can I tell you guys a joke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I tell you guys a small joke? Can I tell a joke here, Producer Austin?
Your joke is welcome.
All right.
If I don't laugh, you're fired.
All right. Fair enough.
You heard it first from the CEO of Tower.
That he's gonna fire the chairman. I don't know how that works, but we'll figure it out. Figure it out together.
A lot of awkward rituals.
I read this online today, and it just kind of popped up on my feed somewhere, and I was like, I gotta use it on the WatchTower. This is great.
Okay, go ahead.
So George Clooney, Leonardo DiCaprio, Matthew McConaughey they all get together. You know, three of our favorite actors.
Yeah.
And they say, let's make a movie together. We gotta make a movie together, the three of us, right? It's George Clooney, Matthew McConaughey, Leonardo DiCaprio. George Clooney says, I'll direct it. He's a great director. In case you don't know, he's a terrific director. Leonardo DiCaprio says, I'll produce it. Of course. He produces pretty much every one of his movies, including, Wolf of Wall Street and everything. And then Matthew McConaughey says, all right.
That's the end
Do me a
of
favor,
our
Go
show.
in and walk out the door.
Don't forget to subscribe
We're gonna let you go.
on
Thank you.
Spotify,
You can leave now. You can
Apple
leave.
Cast
It's
Pod.
spelled I'll right.
You're fired.
When you have to explain
Leave.
the joke, it just doesn't
Man.
work.
Moving on. From this
Let me
attempt
remind
to
anybody-
make a cinema joke.
All right.
amongst my cinema buddies in a cinema podcast.
You know what? I was 2 seconds away from when you said, hey guys, I'm going to tell a joke. And then you were like, Matthew McConaughey and Leonardo DiCaprio and Steven Spielberg walk into a room. And then I was going to just scream out, who's there? And just wait to see what you would
I
do.
should have walked out from the beginning.
I should never sign the contract to be back on this podcast.
Let us just remind you that if you're paying for any type of premium membership on any of your podcasting platforms, there is
The
no refund.
Patreon will be
There's
down.
no refund.
There's no refund for our OnlyFans. I'm
Yep.
sorry. Anyways,
That was great.
moving on.
I'm glad we kicked off I'm glad we kicked off the podcast
I'm
this way.
glad you
No, yeah,
guys
yeah.
got the opportunity to pummel my joke because we're now about to pummel the Laos film. You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Rating.
Okay.
Listen,
Ratings.
Listen, this was not in the least bit intentional because the law walked away like, oh man, you guys didn't like it, and we were like, oh, it was great, but
It
there
was
was
good. It was
something
just-
that
yeah.
we need to
Well,
explore this.
over the-
because
That's
it's been
why
hyped so
I
much.
know that we've done in the past. We explore the ratings twice. Once at the beginning, once
That's
at the
true.
end.
That's right.
We'll see if maybe I can sway you guys.
I think you can. I think you might be able to.
But I genuinely curious, and let's go with initial ratings. Castro, I want you to start out
Oh wow. Initial rating from the first watch.
from the first film, and then we'll do the third film. I'm sorry, that was a different podcast episode. We're just doing it for this film.
the what was it called again? The competition?
The Turing test.
Not the Turing.
The Turing test from right now?
I'm glad that our producer got that joke because
I didn't get it.
The first film.
remember how last
before
episode.
Trilogy, you son of a bitch. We're slacking it, man. What the hell's going on? Last time we were drunk and we were getting these jokes.
That's
Oh
on
my
me.
god.
Oh jeez.
Well,
We're all a little sleepy. We came straight from work.
That was not bad. That was not that bad.
Screened the film.
Vice President of Production. You're welcome.
Go on.
All right, my first impression of the film was, it was hyped so much throughout the years. The first impression I got was I don't know if anybody's seen Westworld.
A little bit.
I don't know if it was
canceled. By the way,
it just got canceled.
It's canceled like today.
Like on the third season.
Just got the first, yeah, they did 4.
So I always love to see where like writers are gonna go with like man playing God.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Okay.
really love this one where it wasn't that much dialogue. It was dialogue, but not that much. It was
You talk very highly of Mother, which I still haven't screened. You've been telling me for years
yeah.
to watch Mother, and I still haven't seen it. But
no, yeah. It's just
allegorically, it's the same. I mean, like
yeah.
playing God, whatever representation of.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker for one of those. I just like seeing like what other people's interpretation of what would a human be if he played God or whatever.
Right.
But I mean, I guess overall the rating I start off with an 8.8
Sure.
because it was a little complex. There was a little couple of plot
It was very
holes
complex.
for sure.
Plot holes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll get to those right now, but
Fair.
I want to
Okay,
hear
so
it from you
8.8.
guys.
Okay.
Yeah, 8.8.
Not as low as I thought you were gonna go.
No. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie for sure.
Carlos.
I'm thinking about this because it's not a bad.
Yeah, me too. I'm trying to,
It's not, and that's
And-
honestly for me that's high.
That's high 8.8.
I'd probably
Yeah.
give it about a flat 8.2 maybe.
That's higher
Oh,
than
you're
I
gonna
thought.
get a lot of
That's where I'm
haters
at.
out there.
It's a good film. It's not a bad film. It's not a bad film.
But what?
So initial, we
Here's
just
the
finished
thing,
watching it.
I couldn't agree more with Castro. The thing about it is, listen, I'm really bad at being the asshole that overhypes films for people. And then when I finally screen it, I'm genuinely happy and surprised that they actually did like it. And I'm bad at that, and I'm the asshole that does that. So when people do that to me, naturally the tables have turned, right? But I had a lot of good friends, including Delao, but a lot of friends whose opinion of cinema I really, really highly regard and trust, overhype the hell out of this film and say you need to fucking watch Ex Machina, and I believe them, and I can see why, I guess, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It wasn't this mind blowing thing. In all fairness, though, these same friends are very forgiving of like very well made action films, I guess. I thought that's what this was gonna be too. So
Okay.
I'm happy that it wasn't this fucking AI takes over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta punch my way out of this one kind of thing.
Yes. I thought that's what I was
Okay.
missing, and it wasn't, and that was really pleasant. It flipped the script on it for me, which I really loved. But 8 point, let's go with an 8. I think I'll start at an 8.
Flat 8? Okay.
Flat 8.
That's primarily why, though, a lot of people whose opinion at cinema I trust, this was the best thing they've ever seen. I mean, this is on the top of their list for a lot of people that I talk to.
Yeah.
It's not my cup of tea, which is the first thing I should state. In all fairness, it's not sci-fi and thrillers aren't really my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fair enough to state. I'm for crying out loud. The last podcast we did was the Before trilogy, and that was my pick.
Would you put it in another category because it also has like a nice views to it? So it's not just sci-fi. Wouldn't it be like more like?
No, just because of the science fiction elements, like the whole idea of AIs and this
It's a
futuristic
sci-fi
technology,
thriller, right?
I feel like
I would call it a sci-fi thriller.
Okay.
I would also state that it has this really cool. This is 2014. This is when we loved A24 before it became A24. So A24's indie feel to cinema, the way it started, it still has it. Don't get me wrong. It hasn't lost. They haven't lost their way, but they have become something more broader now. Back then, A24 was this acquired taste of cinema, and it was this exciting thing because I think our generation who loved cinema was like. It was like a United Artists or like a Fox Searchlight of our kind of time, but much more ballsy. And it's still that, by the way. I mean, Midsummer and everything. It's still that. But typically A24 would do these indies that were either dramas that we just loved, that just was different and broke the rules a little bit. So I'll say that it's a sci-fi thriller that has this indie tone to it.
You wouldn't categorize it a little bit as a psychological thriller? Because isn't it
Yeah.
Sure.
That's why I kind of was leaning with it. But
Sure.
Go for it, Delao.
8.0.
8.0, 8.8, and 8.0.
I'll definitely say.
Would you like Austin's rating before you
Absolutely.
finish it off?
Editor, producer extraordinaire, man of many talents involving his
Sexiest
rating.
voice alive.
Do you want like the first film first and then the last?
I do. Can I get the first film first 5 minutes first, and then rate it?
7.7.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. And
You gotta elaborate a little bit.
Is there a why?
Yeah, but you'll never find out.
You heard it
Unless you kill me
first.
first.
7.7. So that's like an average of an 8.2 right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the
You sure you want to continue with this episode?
Absolutely.
Yes. For other films.
No, but I want to hear what De La
Is this
heard.
the lowest we've rated something of yours?
No, I don't think
Maybe
so.
at Eternity's Gate. I think I was more forgiving of Eternity's Gate.
I don't
Maybe.
I
remember.
don't think they were.
I'm not sure, but this isn't how low can Delo be rated.
How low can De La O go?
Yeah, this is
Our new segment, How Low Can De La O Go, is brought to you by...
Quaker. Eat the
Quaker.
oats. Eat it. I dare you.
Where you at with it?
Okay.
And by the way, you never held it in high regard or like overhyped it. I don't think you didn't,
Yeah. No.
but you did very much admire, especially in the
Yeah.
season
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah.
currently
Yeah.
in. But
Well, I'll say this. When I made my like top 10 list for films, and I've like I haven't worked on it in a while, but the list construction at the top, I had Harold and Maude.
Sure.
Underneath that, I had Her,
Sure.
which I think those two still stay pretty
I
close
couldn't
knit
agree more.
together.
They should stay there.
And
Yeah.
I'd say that this film, if not like number 3, it was definitely like the top 5, and it's more on a
Really?
yeah.
Wow, top 5.
It's pretty good. I mean, I can see
But
where you're coming from.
I put it here because
I can't because of his taste in film.
But I want to
That's
hold
what
on. Let me
throws
see.
me
Let me
off.
see. Let me
In
see.
the good way, in the best way possible.
yeah.
Why?
Well, going into like things that are not like the number 1, everything under that is an achievement in cinematography that I wish to achieve or emulate. So
That's cool, that's cool.
I start really appreciating films that make me feel something emotionally, but then also are astounding on a technical front. And I mean, when you look at these kind of like this film,
For sure.
it's a one location film, technically,
Sure.
that was able to really make use of the space in a bunch of interesting
Except when we
ways.
land and leave from Jurassic Park, right? But beyond
Yeah, no. Other than the what's the name of a dinosaur? The
T-Rex.
narwhals. Other than those guys,
That was the worst one.
other than like them going outside, but even then,
Yeah,
it's
no,
about
no.
the idea is they're on their property, and there's the outside, but the outside's really just I want to say
It's
metaphorical
a
more
one
than anything else.
location
Yeah.
film, yes.
They really made use of the space. They played with it. They knew exactly what they wanted to capture. Everything felt intentional. The first time I watched it, it conveyed just a lot of what I want to have from a film experience. It
How
provoked.
long ago did you watch it? When was the first time you saw it?
And when was the first time I saw it? I think it was shortly after it came out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2014,
it stayed.
2015.
Yeah.
How did it age?
How did it age?
Because you could have
question,
fooled
good
me.
question.
You could have fooled me and told me this film was made in 2020, and I would have believed you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's aged pretty well, and I think it's when I put a film on like the top tier list, I also like to think that it has a stamp in cinematic history. I'd like to think that this one
okay.
really it especially for A24, I think it accomplished this indie feel that like
it's a big pillar, or I wouldn't say pillar. I'd say building block.
yeah,
A24's
yeah.
catalog,
Like
sure,
because when people go back and they're going to be looking at the whole catalog, I think this one's going to stand out and they're going to be like, "Wow, it's amazing what they were able to do with the sci-fi. It didn't feel cheesy. It didn't feel like they overshot it or anything like that." Now, of course, I wouldn't say it's like the number 1 film or something like that, but I definitely scored high on
And
it.
your number 5, is it number 5? Is it number 3?
I'd say it's like 3 or 4.
Okay.
3 or 4. I was really impressed with it. But I mean, this is old list. I mean, if I look at the movies I've seen now and all that kind of stuff, I don't know if it would change. But at the time,
I'm very curious, but I'm also not that surprised because I will say this, and I think I even mentioned it to you guys when we were screening it. The opening scene felt like the opening scene of Her.
yeah,
And it was an aesthetic more than it was a feeling.
yeah,
So the
When he won the
aesthetic-
contest?
Yeah, when he's at the computer.
yeah.
Remember Joaquin's character in Her?
Oh,
Opens on the office and then
yeah.
we pull back.
Yeah.
So
I
it
think
felt
yeah.
aesthetically. It felt like I said. I think it's that indie factor that I'm talking about. So I think aesthetically I know where it's at with you. And
Yeah.
I get that. I get the aesthetic. I get why it appeals to you in that regard.
I'll say that I can justify the hell out of this film,
Yeah.
and I'll put
And I
it.
hope you do because we have questions.
Yeah.
All right, how low can Dello go? Is in full swing. I'm gonna give it a 9.2.
9.2.
I think it did really well. It definitely above a 9. But I'm gonna leave it at 9.2. I was really happy with it.
Are we too generous on this podcast? Like, I mean, in general.
No.
I mean, like, we are also kind of picking our favorite films, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like, comparatively, and I don't listen to a ton of other film review podcasts,
Well,
if any, I feel like people are way more harsh. Film critics are way more harsh. Are we more accepting to
The thing is,
Sure,
I'll
yeah,
say
for
this.
sure.
I'll say this.
Empathetic to the filmmakers? Is that what it is?
When I'm rating things, and I think what's really hard is that we're rating it in a very general sense. When I think the
General
rate,
audience member type of thing? Or
no,
more
like we're rating a little bit of everything. But when I'm rating it right now, I'll say the 9.2. Exclusively, I'm giving that towards the cinematography and composition of the film.
Absolutely.
I'll give,
Absolutely.
if I had to like break things down,
The
I'd maybe
story-wise.
say 8.3 or 4 for the
Fair,
story.
fair.
I
Yeah.
think it was
Fair.
good. I even made a comment towards Carlos asking about like if he thought one of the elements was a little bit too easy.
Which one was it?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
But like I think the story did well. I think it was really unique, really interesting.
Yeah. Unique weird sign for sure, too, man. I mean,
yeah.
Sci-fi
The
films
score,
we're barely coming back up on the up and up again. You know?
I think score is like an 8.9. I think it executed itself well.
I have a
It-
fun factoid about the score. That
Oh, okay.
that-
I'd probably put the
that
score a little bit
was
higher because I love the score.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys were saying, well, that's what you guys were talking about.
Yeah.
I liked
Acting,
it. I liked it.
acting was a 1.
What?
Try harder, Oscar. No,
You know what, Oscar Isaac, the more I see him, the more he impresses me, man.
yeah, no, I thought the acting was
Honestly,
really, really
I
good.
hadn't seen this performance, at least not fully. I'd seen clips of it, but
I'd probably put like acting at an 8.8 because I mean it's also really impressive that
Put it at a 9,
3
man. I put the
people,
acting at a
yeah,
9.
3 people carrying this film.
although to be fair,
What about
Gleeson-
Nathan? Not Nathan, Caleb.
Caleb Glenn's character
Yeah.
was
He was a
the
little bit
same-
more subtle.
Is it,
yeah.
But isn't he the same guy? Isn't he the same character he plays in every film? To a
Yeah,
certain
that's
degree?
where
You know what I mean? It's a
I
little,
agree with you on that.
I mean, he's not the guy he plays in.
But that's
Star
why they
Wars,
probably got him
right?
for it because you know.
I
this
guess
person-
So- Well, those are our ratings. One note I'd like to just kind of kick things off with because I think it'll justify the rating and justify why I preach so highly of this film.
Sure.
Something that on the second watch, seeing the film all the way through,
That's what I know.
I was
This is your second one? No, I'm sure you've
no, I've seen it a couple more times, but I guess watching it again after like a good couple of years.
What I think is important to know, what I'd love to hear your perspective on, is the fact that my assumption is if you watched this right after it came out, it means you watched this before you became a filmmaker.
Yeah,
So you really kind of did go in with an general audience.
I did go in with a general audience.
How has that changed? Does it? I mean, it's much more impressive, I'm sure, because of the.
Yeah, no, I'll say that. The first time I watched it, I was more interested in the story and the concept because it's, again, talking about these really big themes,
Sure.
but breaking it down into something
what
very...
you love about it.
No.
Which is breaking it down into something very palatable. And
Yeah.
sometimes films that are being sci-fi or they're being...
I
yeah.
love it, man.
Like-
I love
like
when
I-
something can be affable and people can just,
Yeah.
at its base
But
level.
there's some
Yeah.
that they're too much.
Yeah.
Some that they need to explain the
Yeah.
world too much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why people talk so highly of like Blade Runner, that they didn't need to explain the world and too much,
Right.
but you get so invested
Which
into
is
it. But
what
that's
bugs the hell out of me.
yeah.
Blade
But
Runner,
but this one,
that's me.
it didn't need exposition. I mean,
Right,
at the
right.
very beginning, they have that very kind of subtle "you won." And then everybody cheers for him, and he gets flown off, and then you just know that some guy got flown off to go be with his boss, who's apparently a big tech whiz that everybody would love to just sit down with.
He's the Steve Jobs. He's the Elon
Yeah,
Musk.
yeah,
he's
yeah.
the- yeah.
But they
So-
try to make him a little bit more masculine, right? Like boxing and
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of
yeah, like that was
an
it's-
interesting
'cause
character.
usually you think of scientists like they're
Yeah.
nerdy.
no, but they're
But he was more grounded, right? And I think he needed to be because his character needed to be able to have a beer or two. He needed to be more affable. He needed to be more connected.
What was that? What was the alcohol thing with him? Was there a metaphor to that? Like,
no. I mean,
is it?
here's the thing. I'll explain it like this. The film, the way it's organized to me feels like a chess game, and you're always seeing new puzzles at play or new pieces at play, and you're always wondering how it's all going to blend together. And you never think of it as a puzzle until the very end when he says, were you really, like, did she really love you, or were you just an element to get out? And then he explains it to him, and I think he's being absolutely honest. He says, I brought you in because now it was to see, can she use things like sexuality, imagination, manipulation, empathy? Can she combine all those to get out of the rat maze, you know? And then at the very end, that's exactly what she does. She just used everything like an element so that way she could get out and not look back about it.
So I will say though that to your question, Castro, I feel like that character trait is what we talked about that may have been the easiest thing in the world. Make the guy an alcoholic. That'll be his downfall.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that it was easy. I do think it was a little too easy, but it also lends itself to like the
tortured scientist.
Yeah, the tortured artist, the tortured scientist.
Yeah, like how else would they? Yeah,
you know,
because
like, people who are very smart have a hard time coping with the fact that they think they're alone because nobody understands them because they're up here, right? And it's kind of conceited, right? But at the same time, they're just self-aware. So when it comes to like doing something that brings them down again, I think that's what it is for him. Alcohol. To like level him, to make him human again, to make him with faults.
Okay.
You know, he's so perfect, and everybody has him in that high regard. He's a genius according to.
But you guys think that was too on the nose?
No, it's just
like you guys were like, that's gonna be his downfall.
Yeah. Naturally, the more we saw him drink, the more we're like, okay, this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
They're gonna use this as a plot device.
Wow.
And it was like really easy for the guy to be like, I came up with a plan. We're just gonna get him. We're gonna get him drunk, and then we're gonna steal his card, and we're gonna hack the mainframe. Yeah. Go robot. And we were kind of mentioning that. We're like, is this too easy?
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think the film was trying, or the story tried to. No, it tried to play it in as like a red herring, because then what it did is it gave you.
It was a twist, right?
Yeah, it gave you that quick twist, because then you're like, oh shoot, okay, now I know where it's gonna go, and then it's like, hey, let's drink to this, and then it's like, nah, detox, but
isn't that something to wonder about too? Because the twist in and of itself was like, okay, fine, cool, but of course he was monitoring them.
Yeah,
of course he was monitoring them when the power went down. Of course. Well, that was the whole time I was thinking that. The whole time I was like, come on.
Well, hold on. So you're saying like he knew from the beginning that it was her that turning on the power?
No.
Or maybe like the last one he was like, oh,
no, the thing is,
no, he did. No, I think he did.
Yeah.
No.
You never see him genuine because no, you never see him genuine because
you don't.
Every time you see Oscar Isaac,
he's the unreliable antagonist. He's not the antagonist.
Yeah, who's the protagonist in this one? Is it Ava?
I had you guys.
I think it's Ava.
I asked you guys while we were still screening this, while the fight was going, who are you guys rooting for? I don't know who to root for.
I was
in this moment.
Yeah,
because it's the creation killing the creator. But why should I have any empathy for her? She's not. Okay, she's conscious, but she's not human.
No, what they did the first time I watched it,
like us,
the first time I watched it, what's your
simulation? But I want to know.
Okay, a bunch of shows have played in on this idea of like, if you found out something that you thought was completely inanimate actually had thoughts and feelings, then how would that make you feel and how would you respond to it? We've seen things like Toy Story. I know that even Futurama. Futurama had like a little spoof where they were eating like poplars. I don't know if you ever saw that. And then later on they find out they're like small children and they feel bad.
Thing, right? Anybody who let's go there for a minute because this is super important to the themes of these. Of this film. In that scenario, which I'm glad you brought up, somebody who's defending animal rights feel that animals are flesh and blood. They have a soul. And the moral compass is most of all
that they can feel suffering.
They can feel suffering. So, okay, a program is programmed to get to that point where they're so advanced that they also feel emotion, but feel suffering.
Yeah.
Suffering, I mean, to me, is more physical than it is mental, right? I mean, it's if somebody tortures me, it's
if you're locked up in a room, it could also be mental.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
no,
I
mean,
torture,
I know that it's that it feels pain. What happens is that the big kind of even like animal rights, it's
when
that
they were
idea.
chopping her arm off, she wasn't yelling. That's my point.
Oh, so, like, that's an end. Okay.
That's my point here is like with an animal, naturally you will hear them fucking screech because they're in pain and they're hurting and they're suffering.
That's true.
With an AI, if my computer all of a sudden becomes Al from fucking 2001 and I destroy it, I'm not gonna feel bad about it.
The cool thing about this film, though,
but it was almost a real individual. That's why it's different.
Almost.
Here's the thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Almost. So
here's the cool thing about the film.
Yeah. I think
what it does for the audience by having so few characters, and you're almost like you're put in the test with him. because every time you're
I'm
listening
not
to
defending his character. I
No.
understand he was trying to play God. It happened to
Yeah.
him because he fucking meant it this way. Like, not meant it this way, but you did it to yourself, dude. Like,
Oh yeah.
and I
No,
don't-
yeah.
I
At the end of
don't
the
feel
for
as
sure.
much empathy. What bugged me, and we're on the same topic, so I don't think I'm skipping too much. But what bugged the hell out of me about this film is the ending. Okay, she makes it out great. We're rooting for her. She gets to live a normal human life, even though she's a normal human, but has normal human programming, I guess. What the hell did Caleb do to deserve being stuck in there?
Caleb.
I still don't understand.
No,
that.
because
No, I got that. I got that.
He explained it.
If I was gonna root for anybody in this film, I was gonna root for Caleb. He was the most innocent in this scenario. The only thing that justifies the ending for me was the fact that
I was rooting for Ava.
Oh, I think I figured it out.
what?
Go for it.
Okay, so the original Turing test, right?
Uh-huh.
It's this idea where you have a machine on one side, like the original. You had a machine on one side, and then somebody would be on the other side, and they never thought of the machine writing or anything like that, but you'd pass notes to each other. And then the notes would have questions and all that, and you couldn't see the machine or if it's a person. So at the end of a long conversation, you should be able to tell, is the machine, is it a machine or is it a person? And if you couldn't tell the difference, then that's when it passed the Turing test, and that's when it's this big thing like, oh, artificial intelligence exists. This took it a step further in saying, I'm trying to see if it's conscious. But here's the thing. On the first watch through, you look at Caleb as a character
As your hero.
put into a situation. You're following him going through this whole scenario, and he's saying, no, I'm not going to use notes, and we're going to pass it back and forth and all that kind of stuff. Now I'm going to take off the veil, and you're going to interact, and that's how we're conducting the Turing test. And he made it clear to Caleb that you're conducting the test. You're the one who's going to go in there and ask the questions. Thinking about it now and kind of backing off a bit, the game was always between him and Ava.
Yeah.
And Caleb was just the note being passed around. Caleb's just the
beautiful.
thing. Yeah, he's just the thing that comes back after talking to her, and then he's sending him back in and being like, so now what happened?
Yeah.
And that's why he's always cold about it. And they even show he's going to cold environments because he's not really using Caleb as like a friend. He's just like, you're just another part of this.
I think that's a terrific. I think that's a terrific point.
Yeah.
I still
sure.
don't think it justifies for me why he gets to be the fall guy.
Because
was he always meant to be the fall guy?
I think it's meant.
He was always meant to be.
I just think he was never meant to be the protagonist.
Oscar Isaac's character.
Oh,
Nathan.
Nathan.
He was always meant to be Nathan's fall guy. I understand that. Get a guy with no
Yeah,
family. Get a guy
that's
with no
what you
girl.
think,
If I
though.
kill
That's
him
how-
tomorrow,
that's
that's
what
how
you
it's
go
set
in
up.
thinking,
That's how it's
yeah.
set up. He was always meant to be his fall guy. Was Ava gonna do this once? Now she became conscious. Was she always gonna do this at all? At all costs.
Yeah.
I think the message would have changed.
Who the fall guy would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the message would have changed if Ava and Caleb made it out, because then it's almost like this question of like,
Is
oh,
it like a love thing?
yeah, then it's like,
Oh, yeah.
more than what matters more than consciousness is love, and
Wouldn't
it's like,
that been more impressive though? Like,
No.
on her perspective.
No.
Because now she's just some evil genius.
No, that's why
don't
I
think
take
that-
it like a step further.
Humanistically, she didn't feel empathy. She didn't feel love. She didn't like. That's kind of regressing a little bit. Wouldn't it have been more impressive that an AI
No, but just like an AI, it's just looking for the answers.
I think if you're like,
looking for what answers?
Well,
Like-
like she had conscious now. Like now she wants to see who her real creator is or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And that is of more value to her than whatever's in between these four walls.
I remember
AI,
after
that's- yeah.
after watching it for the first time, I was more curious and left with the question of, is she actually conscious? Because really the test was almost inconclusive because
right. Absolutely.
Caleb, like, all it proved was that if, let's say, she's built to know how to escape, she knows now how to play cards to escape. Like, that's all that, this whole
what's
test
conscious for you?
Not just that. No. That's fine. But not just that. But it's like, to me, it's like letting a lab rat escape It's like letting a lab rat escape the entrapment
Okay, I see where you're going with
amongst
this.
a bunch of other rats who don't know what the fuck they're doing either, and are gonna die too. Like, you're being released into a world you know nothing about. You're gonna get fucked. Like, something's going to happen to you. You're a smart AI. I understand.
Exactly.
You're
I
gonna
was gonna
adapt.
say, yeah.
You're gonna adapt. I get that, but she could get hit by a cab, and it's not gonna matter. Like, just like any other human. That's the human life. That's the human condition. So, to me, I don't know if she succeeded. She succeeded. She won the battle. I don't know if she's gonna win the war.
But what's the war?
Human life, daily human existence.
You know what's really cool though? The way that this film paints human existence is not frolicking in like fields. It's not being out with nature. Anytime they're around nature, they're around rock. They're around glaciers. It's cold. It's frigid.
I totally
When he
agree.
came
She's
from
in
his
the
work
city.
environment,
Right, she's in the city.
yeah, when he came from
That's
his work
not shot.
environment, it was being at a desk and you're just being processed and digitized and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I think what the film wanted you to feel is that now she's going to experience more than human life because I guess maybe she can
Oh,
find
shit.
Yeah.
How shitty!
what.
She made it out from this grand task of escaping, only to live a dull human life.
No,
that-
but at least she got the answers. Just
What
like
answers?
us. Just like us. Like, what's out there? Is it just these four walls?
Well, for us, it's just these two.
No, yeah.
I
It's
feel-
'cause
right.
Me, I'm going off this because I don't. It ended exactly like it does in the first season of Westworld. She makes it out. Spoiler alert. That's what I was thinking. Like, and then Westworld it shows you like she just wants to see, what's outside the wall.
I mean, like...
I guess for somebody who's been locked up, quote unquote, their whole lives, that's the end game, baby. That's the end goal. But to someone who's lived as a human, it's kind of like, how shitty, man.
No, but I mean...
we lived it.
Yeah. And,
Okay.
and what's more is like, you I since I don't know who to root for, I probably would have still even had even more empathy for Ava if she was like almost like bred. Like you're an AI that's going to go through all stages of life, baby, kid, whatever. Like,
Well, I think what's interesting...
you know, I probably would have had more empathy. 'cause
Kind
she
of
lived
a-
the full human experience.
I had
Kind of a
empathy
plus
for
to
her,
the
for sure.
score. I love the way that once she kind of did kill Nathan and was gonna finalize this
The
plan.
cyberpunk thing.
No, when she started going and like putting on like the body parts
yeah,
and started
yeah.
putting on clothes, when you hear the music, it sounds like that of like baby music. It's that little kind of like a lullaby sound,
Lullabies.
like a mobile. You know the mobiles that would have the little like songs and all that.
I gotta
And
check
I
that
think
out.
it's interesting that that's supposed
She's
to be
reborn.
like a birth, and maybe that's cheeky, but I really thought they played it well.
No, that was nice. That was
That's
nice.
why
That's fine.
the
That's a
notes
nice
for this
moment.
film is
It
just
was a very nice moment in the film.
the notes for this film is that I think it brings up questions of, artificial intelligence. What's the goal with it? Which they even ask in the film, and they really don't come up with a solution. He's just kind of like, it's gonna happen.
It's cool.
No, yeah,
And
because
it's inevitable.
No,
Yeah,
it's inevitable.
Nate-
It's
My
good. That is the
competitors-
answer. It's inevitable.
My competitors are on their way to breaking
yeah,
the formula.
it was like, okay, so what's the point of AI? It's gonna happen. That's still not an answer, but
I love-
what
I
it
was
does.
reading that
I love that answer.
I
Yeah.
was reading that something important that the director was asked was, when does this film take place? And though Austin got an actual physical answer, which is 2027, Austin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not clear, right? I mean, it's on paper, literally on the video. That's why you can see it. But the director said, "I always think the film takes place 10 minutes from now." He says, and let me tell you why. He's like, because if you heard that Google or Microsoft was going to create an AI, you'd be shocked, but you wouldn't be that shocked.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the film's at, right? Like, we're here. Like, this is where we're at. This
Yeah.
AI is.
And that's
Yeah.
the main goal I saw of the film is that it's to bring up questions and spark up that conversation, and it takes a complicated process not process, a complicated idea like consciousness, which you were even asking, and it's something that philosophers have pondered over,
Yes.
for ages.
Beautiful.
And it makes it palatable. It makes it into something that we can have a conversation over, and that's
more than
that's
ever. Now more than
my
ever in
biggest
society.
plus on the film.
Now more than, and I know half of it are memes and TikToks and whatever, but now in society we've questioned being in the simulation, quote unquote, more than
For sure.
any time.
I'm
right?
one of those guys.
I like a good conspiracy
I'll
theory.
flirt with that conspiracy theory for sure.
I like a good conspiracy theory, and I get why, right? But it's fine. It's totally fine. Let's go into some of the I don't want to call them tropes, but let's go into the film in general. I mean, I feel like all the aspects that we kind of rated it on And we don't use like a 10-point system or whatever. This is
Yeah,
just how we
we
feel,
use
but-
9.
Yeah, so not quite 10, but I like the craftsmanship of the film. I don't love the story, but that's not the film's fault. That's my taste in film's fault.
Here, to kind of put beats on each of it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
How about we each kind of go to our, I guess, strengths and how we felt towards it. So, Castro, acting wise, what did you take away? What you thought was good? What did you think could have been better? Acting wise for the film, seeing each of the characters in their roles.
I think it was a beautiful dance between Caleb and Ava. You know, it was just, it's one of those where technology, she's, you know, trying to analyze every little gesture that he does. And I think, what is his name again? Caleb's, what's the actor's name again?
Neeson, Domhnall Neeson.
We were talking about, like, he
Gleeson.
played
Gleeson.
Gleeson.
Hopefully.
Domhnall Gleeson.
It's
Yeah.
going to be referred to as Caleb from here on out.
Yeah. Carlos made a good point where he kind of plays like the same character in most of the films, but in this one I think it worked really well because you needed somebody that was kind of subtle, you know, not too over the top. And then you got Isaac, who, man, that guy can play
Dancing,
anything,
drug.
man.
Anything, man.
Yeah.
He could be the most loved individual in a film, and he could be the most hated.
I thought that little scene was a little out of place
Which one?
when he dances with the
Did you know that, like, I forgot where I saw in the bonus feature, but it took him, like, weeks to rehearse that. And
that little.
yeah, it wasn't like a little, like, oh, let's just have you guys dance. It was like, no, we're going to make a whole choreographed
It was a little
scene.
choreographed. I saw it, but it's
Very.
I
Yeah.
will say, I
Dancing
would place
lessons.
this in the top 3 performances I've ever seen.
From Isaac.
Because
Ooh.
to me, my top 3. This is number 3.
Okay. Yeah.
Number 2 is Life Itself. Terrific indie picture with Mandy
I've seen
Patinkin,
it.
and it's a suicide picture. It's a whole thing. It's really good. His significant other. It's good, man. It's so good. It kind of revolves around the daughter's character in that film, but Oscar Isaac plays a part that's super important, and he gets maybe like 10 minutes of screen time. It's
Wow.
so
But
good.
it's
in those 10 minutes.
makes an
man,
impact.
I'm like, what the
And
hell?
number 1, Eternity's Gate.
No, but he was good in that too. That's probably number 4. Maybe number 5.
Which
No,
one?
number 1 is Inside Llewyn Davis.
No, I haven't seen
Coen
it.
I have
Brothers
not seen
picture.
it. I have not seen it.
It's the most depressing film you'll ever see in your life, but fuck, man. Fuck. Like, he plays this folk singer who's depressed and broke and kind of goes around from bar to bar to play music and encounters, as in every Coen Brothers film, encounters characters along the way that are fucking crazy and
Oh man, I gotta see that.
trippy. It's terrific, man. It's just sad. It doesn't give you an upswing at the end. I'll warn you about that right now. You're hoping this guy wins and he doesn't, and it's terrific. Best performance I've seen of Oscar Isaac in that. And
Really? You put this at number 3?
I put this as number 3. This was terrific. It just proved to me that the guy really can do anything. I mean, he could be Poe Dameron. Is it Dameron? Yeah, right. Dameron. Star Wars. He could be the fighter pilot.
Oh, Paul Dameron?
Sure. Paul. He could be this guy you're rooting for and you love and you want to see, and peppy and happy and kind of, scruffy, but, or he could be this fucking asshole who chooses science over morals. I mean, like, he's great.
That mad
He's terrific.
scientist.
He's terrific actor.
To kind of note on, like, the dancing scene, I think there's supposed to be this sense of, like, he really does just do this for the hell of it, and every one of his actions, like every
Because it's
time,
out of his
I
character, though.
can teach my AI to dance. It's that thing. It's like if I can teach my AI to dance with me and like that's our language.
yeah, and
Also, this seems. I mean, we now know he has quite literally a closet full of women.
Right.
This is his favorite
yeah,
because she doesn't fucking talk.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
There's no way that this was Kyoko, right?
yeah.
There's no way.
No.
that I'm not
You-
kidding.
No, her name's
What were you
Kyoko.
calling?
Kyoko. Kyoko was not gonna be Ava ever.
Yeah.
So
But what's interesting is that
But why did they form an alliance?
because
they're both AI.
no, they're
They're amongst their people, no?
no,
Also, she got treated like shit. Maybe she was conscious
Yeah.
too.
No, that's the thing. They're
That's
trying
all
to
it
they're
is.
trying to kind of nudge towards like
Her
he says,
consciousness.
they're not right, or this one's just like does whatever I want. But throughout the film, you always see that Kyoko's like watching monitors, and she's very observant. She acts like she's asleep, and then he walks out of the room, and her eyes open up.
Yeah.
There's those little nods it's somebody who they're in a position of less power. Yeah. And I mean, you saw where it's almost like he whacked her once on the jaw, and then she collapsed. Kind of like she was always very fragile. Yeah, she was always very fragile. But you know, she knew just as well as anybody that, you know, he was going to keep her there forever as his like plaything, and she just kind of had to accept it.
Right. And she very well was the help. But I love that Ava. By the way, fun little factoid about it, the names. They're all biblical.
Ava
is a switch of Eve, right? Caleb, I thought this was interesting. Caleb was a spy biblically for I forget what it was. What was the other guy's name?
St. Pius, one of the leaders.
He was what's the other guy's name?
Judith.
No,
Nathan and Caleb.
Nathan was a prophet.
Okay.
Of high regard in Judaism and Christianity.
Oh, okay.
So prophetizing, and then but Caleb was very important to Moses. He was a spy for Moses. So
he was a snitch.
He was serving. You know, Caleb is serving as a spy type of thing. Anyways,
it's interesting how you say that.
That's cool, though.
I don't know if it plays anything into it, but
not. I mean, it does.
No. I mean, you know,
it does a little, but
I like those little
factoids. But anyways, I'm sorry, I threw us into another tangent. But what were we talking about?
Oh,
Caleb?
Castro, any I guess kind of not fully closing notes, but any kind of capping notes on acting?
Let me just
or performance, or what you really appreciated?
Oscar Isaac based his performance on two people. Can you guess? They're not. One of them is very famous, and we admire him very much. The other one is this historically significant dude, but we don't know all that much about him.
Elon?
No, not quite. I mean, Elon. I guess Elon was around, but he wasn't Elon.
Yeah.
Then, let me tell you who. Bobby Fischer.
I've heard of him.
Bobby Fischer's a chess player.
Oh yeah. I saw the documentary where they're playing the computer.
So but yeah. The big what's the computer called? The Big
Blue.
Yeah, there we go.
The Big Blue.
Right.
Deep Blue.
Get it right.
Big Red. So the gum. No, but Bobby Fischer and Stanley Kubrick.
Yes, I did read it somewhere.
Stanley Kubrick is who he based his performance
really?
on. Yeah, that's who he molded the character.
Isn't that great that he based himself?
Fucking great?
Yeah, and then also that whole line of like, I like it when he looked at me and said, I am God. It's like, no, Stanley. No, I never said that.
Listen,
that was fun.
I want to point out a couple other things I read. The title. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Before we do.
Capping thoughts.
No, I mean, for it only being, what was it, 4 people? 4 actors?
It was 4 main.
4 main, I mean, not the helicopter and all that guy, but I think they did a pretty good job. The acting, the dance, I like to call it a little dance. It all was pretty good.
Is there anywhere where you felt like it was weak, where you wouldn't rate it that high, or did you feel like everybody gave their A game?
No, I think it was pretty high. There was no weak, because it was one of those subtle acting type of.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like the acting comes into play where it's very minimal dialogue, but where its execution needs to be just right. So if you have Ava too emotional, well then it kind of oversells that maybe she's conscious, and you can't have that. You have to have her kind of cold. And then with Oscar Isaac's character, if Nathan is too sporadic, then he seems too unreliable. If he seems like he's too cold and calculated, then you're already kind of like, he's gonna win.
See, and this is gonna take me back when I was in Utah doing my DMP major. I'm not gonna say the name, but somebody tried to do a film like that where they told the actors to kind of do, don't do it over the top. You're like a robot, and they actually got like bad reviews from it, saying like,
the performance. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just like,
bad.
Me as an actor, was like, was that's what the director told them to do it?
That director
but like you're saying, like. There has to be this line where you're not too much. You have to,
and that takes understanding your character, right?
Exactly.
Like these guys all understood.
Actors that can do it. It's the best actors that can
these guys really understood what they were going for. I mean, even basing off of like certain characters,
molding the character is different from playing the character, right?
But, but sure,
I was gonna say, I remembered the whole Caleb thing. Caleb was a spy sent by Moses to evaluate the Promised Land.
Ooh,
So
that's spicy.
if Caleb is evaluating
Yeah.
AI and the future of AI,
Nah, I love that. I love that.
I thought that was great. Yeah, man, I think the performance is terrific. I think the performance
And
is
Carlos,
are good.
notes on story and
True.
directing execution.
'Cause those plot holes, and you said
I wanted to ask you about plot holes because I wasn't paying attention as much to plot holes as I was to something I hate about myself, man, which is evaluating bookends. And not all films have bookends. Something I love about a story.
What do you mean?
I don't feel that this had a bookend. I mean, I do.
I
don't think it
Whoa.
needed it. And
wow, because it didn't have the nice happy ending.
No, that
Look
doesn't
at the
necessarily mean bookend.
color palettes. I mean, they wanted the beginning to be very cold, mechanical, and at the end, she was just a human living amongst humans, and everybody's in their like faces out and all that, holding hands. There's no technology around.
Sure, directly the shots are bookends. On the cinematography level, they're bookends.
Yeah,
On a
checkmate.
story level, I don't think they are, and that's fine. That's fine. Again, it doesn't. You don't need to have a bookend.
There was a helicopter that landed, and there was a helicopter that was written in the story.
Whatever.
Go ahead, fight me.
Whatever.
No, let him elaborate. Though.
No, just whatever. Fine. Okay, sure. I don't care.
You can't say that,
I
man.
don't care. I don't care about that bookend. Sit down for a minute. Go there. What I'm referring to is just, I think that a story, when you hear a story as a kid, it doesn't matter whether it's a fairy tale or straight up out of a newspaper or something. There's kind of a closing, right? And whether that closing is conclusive or not, it makes you feel like there's been a resolution. And because I wasn't necessarily rooting for Ava, I don't feel that there was one.
Well, you want to call it a cliffhanger?
Cliffhangers are fine. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be conclusive. It has to be a resolution is not always conclusive. Is that
No, I see what you're saying,
I
but at
think-
least you know where it's headed. Like,
Well, I think it goes
Do
back
you?
to like the question.
no, but that's what I'm saying. That's a cliffhanger. I'm taking
It goes
that as a
back to the
cliffhanger.
question Carlos was saying, which is, who are you rooting for?
Ava.
Because
You're rooting for
Well,
Ava.
I was gonna
rooting
say-
for Caleb.
I was gonna say the reason you're rooting for Ava is because there's
There's no wrong answer.
I know,
I'm seeing it.
I know when to click it in. I know when to click it in.
What's out there?
I can't relate to Ava. I'm not an AI.
No,
And
it's
I-
not
How
about.
do you know?
It's not.
That's why I
No,
take
well,
it.
that's
That's
the
why
question.
I
That's
take
a-
it.
It's
That's
not
fine.
about.
That's
It's not
fine.
about
That's cool.
relating to Ava. It's
Yeah,
about.
behind.
It's the same thing as we were talking about earlier. When you
I
realize
just put
like
myself
an
in-
animal feels pain, and then you're
Exactly, that's kinda
sympathetic.
what
I know, but it's like and I understand why
Empathetic.
you're sympathizing toward her. I totally
Yeah.
get it, and I totally get like.
That's the only reason you're supposed to root for her until.
Exploring the
Exactly.
ether. My point is, when we talk about bookends, and this pisses me off, and it's hard to judge this film because it wasn't bad, but it pisses me off when films start you out with one character and you end up with another. Because you made me invest so much in Caleb. I invested so much in Caleb's trajectory.
Why? Because he was the one at the start of the film.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what you just
you
said. huh?
wanted you saw this guy win, quote unquote. I'll use quotations.
Okay.
You saw this guy win.
Right,
You
and
saw
then-
him go on this trip. You saw him connect with somebody who you really admired. You saw him get the good and the bad of it. You saw we were following Caleb. The
No,
entire time
but
until
it's
we weren't.
how many minutes into we?
I don't- I-
We were
Ava?
following Caleb the entire time until we weren't.
But it was a story told through
And then
Ava's
we ended
eyes
on Ava.
by him.
He's
through
fucked
his-
inside this glass cage.
Like he was at the beginning of the film.
Oh, come on.
Nah, we got introduced
For
to
when
Ava
was there
right
by
away.
choice, Okay, so that's not necessarily it, but
Nah, I disagree.
I just if I'm following Caleb the entire way for 3/4 of the picture.
But Ava's also. We also
For
get introduced to
2/3
Ava. Ava's.
We introduce Ava. We have a meet cute. We know what she wants to a certain degree. We don't even find out from Ava that that's what she wants. We find out from why do I keep forgetting his
Nathan.
fucking name? Nathan.
Nathan.
We find out from
Think of
Nathan.
the hot dog.
We find out from Nathan.
Nathan's hot dog.
The only thing Ava ever presents is that this motherfucker's evil.
Uh-huh.
She never says, I need to get out of here. She never said, there's never her want. We are not introduced to Ava's
Wait.
want.
But
No.
we understand
Ever.
that that's her one because she can't say it. 'cause
We
she
understand that because of every other character in the film, not because of her.
Not a sponsor of Nathan's hot dogs.
Not a sponsor. Look, it's.
No, I
fine.
like that. I like
It's
that. But no, I disagree.
I got so invested in Caleb, and maybe the first time around you watch it, you do. And I still don't think his character should have taken the fall the way he did.
I think
I still don't think that we had a bookend because now Caleb is fucked, and it's been 7 years since the film, and who knows if he's even alive.
No,
that's my point.
He's having a rough day. I'll say that much. No, it's because I think
But you're
the
not
film.
even like curious to what happened with
No,
Ava?
I think the film.
I could be curious about fucking Hitler after after he faked his death. It doesn't make him a good guy that I want to root for. You know what I mean? I could give a shit. Like, if I'm rooting for... You know what I mean? If I'm rooting for the hero who I think is a hero, if I'm rooting for...
So you wouldn't call Ava the hero?
No, man. I
How do you know,
wouldn't.
like, she's making you... It's like...
What, she's gonna
No,
she's
genuinely-
okay.
She didn't free AIs.
I'll root for Ava when they... I'm being facetious. I don't hope this happens. I'll root for Ava when she starts a press conference with Google and Microsoft and says, "I'm here. This is me.
But how
don't make this mistake."
The thing was.
How do you... That's the cliffhanger, though. How do you know that's not going to happen?
Well, here I'll
There's
say.
no guarantee. So
No.
why would I root for her now?
It's-
And
Yeah.
the reason I get to root for Caleb, the reason I feel like I need to root for Caleb is just because of the investment.
I didn't read...
I wanted Caleb to be the one to overturn this motherfucker and make things right. And I think he would have, should Ava not have fucked him over.
But that's good cliche.
What's making it right? What's the point of an AI existing outside of it? Basically, the only love he had for her is the love you have for like a puppy when it's getting
could
beat.
have helped Ava navigate the human existence because he's actually fucking lived it.
Is he living it? Is he living it where he like lives 5 minutes away from a beach, but he decided to position himself mainly because it's 5 minutes away from his job?
He's still living the human existence. He still feels heartbreak and pain and love.
He's single.
He
doesn't have a family
in his fucking life.
He's just a blank slate. He was just meant to be a piece of paper passed around between two people, so that way Nathan
That's
could have.
simplified.
fine.
Yeah.
He's still more human than Ava. He
No.
will always still be more human than Ava.
No.
No.
Yes.
At the end of the day, once she puts on the clothes and once she can feel things in her sensors and all that kind of stuff, there is nothing that's going to make her different than another person. And that's what the film wanted you to feel.
It would be a good start, but I'm not going to get into the technicalities. I'm not interested in the technicalities. My point is,
I
a
think
human will always be more human than a robot. Period.
I think the
As a
film.
human, not thinking, hey, I could be a
No.
possible
I
fucking
think the
robot.
film
It's gonna be
and the story.
If you two believe in evolution, which is what this fucking film is about.
No, it's not.
I mean, it kind of is. If she gets
Evolution?
to outlive humanity because she's a machine, it'll be years. If we know anything about science and evolution, it will be years before this robot evolves into a human.
No.
I just
Yes,
feel.
it will.
No, man. Don't you know that technology is twice, 4, 16?
Oh my God.
Look, my point is, story-wise, I was rooting for somebody. I fell in love with a character and his development, and I didn't need exposition from Ava to care for her. I cared for her when she started caring for Caleb. You know?
You hopeless romantic, you.
Yeah, that's where he's coming from, for sure.
Again, I warned you guys. I
For
warned
sure.
you all that this was not my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
No, but,
And that's fine, but-
it's because I think the script and the story was not so much meant to serve in the traditional sense of protagonist antagonist. It was meant to more serve the purpose of exploring a theme
It was
and
meant
making
to
it
set
palatable.
Yeah, but making it palatable, but also making it affable. You have to make things affable for somebody to connect with your film. What I mean by that is, we all get to root for a different person, and it seems like we are. I think you're rooting for Ava too.
No, Kyoko.
Are you really?
Nah.
I
like when she danced, though.
That's the beauty of this film, by the way. That's the strength it has in its storytelling. Is I get to root for whoever I think is right.
Yeah, because Isaac wasn't the bad guy, right? Nathan wasn't the bad guy, was he?
You know what I would love to do?
Exactly.
Nathan
trying
only
He was
becomes
just trying to advance.
Nathan.
Humanity. He was trying to advance.
He
technology.
only
He was
becomes
trying-
a bad guy when the audience feels, oh shoot, Ava feels pain. That's the only point that you can say that then he becomes a bad guy, because then you start siding.
That's not conclusive. Even that's not.
What do you mean?
I mean, does she feel pain?
We don't know.
That's my point.
But the film, that's why I said it drags the audience into, you have to put in, you're doing your own Turing test.
Well, look, listen. Having said that,
Pretty good. You're doing your own test.
right, which is cool.
I was gonna say,
the biggest thing it has.
I would
going
love
for
to watch an edit of this film where you only watch sessions.
it.
Because then you're
Oh, like
Cut out all humanity of it.
No, yeah, because then what you're exploring is, do these questions and responses really give you that evidence that you need at the end of the day, so you can
micro expressions.
Yeah. And it's to say, at the end of the day, could those sessions be enough for you as an individual to say,
well, listen,
it's conscious?
Having said that about the story, I think its strengths come in its directing.
Okay.
And I think that it was beautifully directed, especially for a feature film directorial debut. I think it had everything going for it, man. And what's more is it succeeded in getting its attention in that regard, because this film was made on a $15 million budget.
Not much.
Not much. Not only this, but the most impressive thing about it that really blew everybody's socks off was the fact that it won an Academy Award for visual effects. And that's not as surprising, right?
Wow.
What is surprising
Because
is
Ava's like in this suit, but
yeah.
it's...
But I mean...
But
yeah.
wait, listen, that year was a very impressive year for visual effects. This film beat out $100+ million movies for visual effects.
Which ones? You remember?
Marvel stuff, but mostly like Mad Max Fury Road, which won a ton of shit. Was nominated for a ton of shit as a film. And all of these films are like plus $100 million budgets. This thing had $15 million.
And then for special effects,
And
which is usually a
right,
big...
exactly. And it won for that. So, I'm not saying that's the biggest thing you should watch this film for, by the way. It's great. It blends well.
Yeah.
It's
They did a good job, dude.
When it comes to editing, right, it's the edits you don't see. It's the edits you don't... So, it's the sound edits you don't hear. So, it does that for the visual effects. It's the visual effects you don't feel, you don't pay attention to. They blend very well with the story, but I think the directing really had... I mean, we pointed out so many amazing shots. Carefully crafted, curated shots. And, again... I think the directing pulled to where I cared about this character development fully. When I started caring about Ava, I cared about Ava. Like I said, that scene of her dressing herself is a beautiful scene.
Took a while.
It took a while, but also the multi-mirror thing.
I was going to say that.
I thought that was such a terrific... And maybe I'm overstepping. Maybe I'm talking about the cinematography a little bit. But the shot where she's standing in front of the mirror, naked and fully in front... A cliche director would make you see her in the middle mirror and then every other mirror perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
She sees herself perfectly. We see her around, right? As a beauty shot. What he did was, this mirror had an arm, this mirror had a leg, this mirror was fractured up here, and then you only see her perfectly where she's seeing herself.
Mm-hmm.
Because she did get body part from here, head from there, fucking, you know.
The closets.
So I thought that was very interesting. And again, a point to his directing. So it was great, man. It was great.
Now, for the moment 3 of you have been waiting for, the cinematography. No, I loved it. I loved every bit of it. Oh my God, it's such a beautiful film. It's such a beautiful film in every way that it was lit and shot. I love the movements because they feel very mechanical, but it draws you in emotionally. Like it's so good.
What's one scene that you really liked?
Okay, I like every scene. No, I like the scenes when you see characters and there's these reflections on the tables. Specifically, I love all the
reflections. I didn't know
there's a lot of reflections, and they're all foreshadowing of the duality of the person, you know. And I love that. I love that they're kind of showing that every person's got that split, and I think Caleb only really has like one shot where he has a reflection. Yeah, the only real big reflection shot. Yeah, he has like that mirror scene, but that's less of a duality like they do with like Ava and they do with Caleb, and more of something that he's really judging himself and he's like in conflict with himself, you know. What I like
I
like that.
What? I don't think...
Say it, man.
Open up a can of worms.
Say it.
I hope it doesn't, but I don't think Caleb was ever in conflict with himself.
Like
no, not that. It was that scene when he didn't know if he was an AI or not.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, that's fine. But I don't think he was. What I mean to say is, yeah, that's cool. That's a good point.
That is a good point.
I don't think he was ever in conflict because of how good of a person he was. Like, it was pointed out that this is why he was fucking chosen. He was a goody.
Yeah,
From the beginning, I was
Kind of a
like,
genuine
I was
goody
chosen.
two shoes.
Yeah.
I mean, not quite goody two shoes, but
Yeah, because any other person, you could imagine them being like talking to the guy and be like, "Oh no, she started saying that she's in love with me and all this kind of stuff. I'm starting to think that something might be up."
I don't even think. Sure, I mean, naturally he was attracted to her, but I don't think he was ever even in love with Ava. I think he just wanted to do the right thing. I think that's what drove him.
No, they have that
No.
scene where he's imagining kissing her.
Yeah.
You can't say that this guy didn't feel in love. And then plus, even the part when she started...
It was 3 days.
No,
It was
but
3 days.
Bro.
he's
I mean,
lonely.
it was a woman made in his image,
Dude,
right?
dude,
Exactly. Even
But
he said,
this
like,
guy's
my
single
Google
has
searches was
look, the guy's single, has no family, and it's been 3 days since he's probably seen a woman like that.
Beautiful
Castro,
points.
didn't you fall in love in like the first minute you saw?
Exactly, bro.
Exactly. If Castro can fall in love in 2 minutes, this guy can fall in love in 3
That's
days.
fine. Listen, I think that's not the point. I think it's not the point.
Okay, we're switching over to Castro's love life. Castro, when's the last time you felt human touch?
Last night, outside of a Wendy's, man, it was...
Was it Wendy's last time? Last time was a Denny's.
Did they like bump into you when they were giving the card back, and you're like, ah? What's your number?
What the fuck happened? Like, it was just.
Nah, let's stick to the...
I love I love the lighting on
32 years
oh,
old,
geez.
Castro. You have a room and a house.
Hey, bro, sometimes just, you know...
Sometimes the mood strikes.
I think the cinematographer trying to get back on track.
Outside of a Wendy's.
Love it, God. I think the cinematographer did a great job of lighting it in a way where it's soft and feels futuristic, but everything has this cold texture to it, and I love that.
Because I know that you paid attention more to color here
concrete
than you.
and
I think you paid attention more to color than you did to composition, with good reason. But I paid attention to movement a lot, and the fact that we started very static, very robotic, and then we had a lot more camera movement towards the end of the film.
You were also mentioning that at the beginning you were like, why is there so many telephoto shots?
Yeah, everything in the background was blurry. We focused entirely on the character in the front, and then that became a little clearer throughout the rest of the film.
It's because when you use lenses that are
I just attribute it to the fact that they were shooting a lot of exterior shots in windows, and like we saw a lot of greenery, we saw a lot of the outside world, and it was kind of blurred out.
I think that they just constantly wanted to make you feel this distance. You're not really meant to connect with any of these characters, and you're not even really meant to like connect with
But then
anybody other than Ava.
yeah,
I
then
think
we
a
do.
lot of
That's why you
the
say that composition was super important, because by the end, the close-ups felt way more intimate.
oh yeah,
I mean, sure, the film
pores and all that kind of stuff.
was anamorphic, and we saw the 2:35 aspect ratio, 2:39 aspect ratio, but the shots felt wide at the beginning.
Yeah.
At the end, they felt intimate.
Yeah.
You know,
Because it's you're detached, and even like Caleb, his character is kind of detached. Where when he's doing the test and he's talking to Nathan, there's this kind of like the way a scientist would, you know. It's
and
kinda
this
like,
is also a beautiful marriage between light and composition. I have a question for you that I don't think I've ever asked you.
Are you happy?
No.
You've never asked that.
Do you think a gaffer takes the credit of do you think a DP takes the credit of a gaffer? Because
For lighting?
Yeah. I mean, it's ultimately the DP's
Yeah.
choice. But the gaffer had that's why I said it was a beautiful marriage.
A talented gaffer, I think, will be able to execute any lighting setup needed to complement the shot. But
But it's
think,
ultimately the DP's vision, which
Yeah.
is totally understandable.
Yeah.
I still think there's a lot of DPs out there like Bob Richardson. Robert Richardson is Tarantino's guy now. He worked with Marty for a little while. He gives credit to his gaffers. He gives credit to his lighting guys. You know, like he'll say, "Yeah, I designed the shot. I composed this, but
I'll give
he suggested this here. He suggested that there."
I will say this. I'll give so much credit to the gaffer in the sense that
in this film, I think he really deserves
Yeah.
it, man. I
no,
really
that's
do.
true. And also, I mean, the practicals are so beautifully
The
integrated.
practicals are great. And
Like,
a lot of this was
you-
probably, I don't know, was it natural? Was it green screen? I heard they shot at a hotel. I heard the interior
Whoa.
of the house was a hotel. So
Yeah.
the entire was like this
But
hotel in Germany. Or some
It's
shit. I
it's
forget what it was, but
amazing how much practicals they used and how much that they probably complemented it to blend it in so well. It truly
It was a
is.
beautiful marriage with
Yeah,
it. It
it's
was
a beautiful marriage, and I think it gives you this texture of each environment. You know, the cooler tones, the warmer tones. When the warms become like too much, where it's just that red, the emergency lights and all that. I think it's so interesting. you were saying that I wasn't really focusing on composition, but the one area I wanted to talk about was the sessions. If you look at the sessions from the first one and then you go to the next one and the next one, what's really interesting is where the camera's being placed the whole time. The first time it's being placed,
part of the maze.
the first time it's being placed in the same room as Caleb, and you're there, and you're in the same position Caleb's in. You're just watching Ava behind this glass wall, thinking like, it's almost like looking at like an animal through,
You're just observing.
Yeah, you're just kind of there. You're observing. You're like, wow, that's interesting. And then it gets closer to Ava, and it kind of does this little askew where you're almost in between and fluctuating between being in the room with both of them. And then later on, as Ava starts getting more of a handle on like kind of like Caleb's emotions, the camera's in her room. And then Caleb, it looks like he's behind the glass wall, that he's the one being tested, and he's the one being, like he's the vulnerable one.
Right.
Where at the very beginning...
Who DP'd this?
Huh?
Do we know who DP'd this?
I don't know. Bring him up. Let's give him some love.
Damn, I gotta watch it again just to see those.
Yeah, no, watch it. Just the sessions. If you can kind of skip to just the sessions, you'll see where the camera's being placed, and you'll see that it goes from him testing her to her testing him, and she has him in the palm of her hands, and that's what really sells it at the end, that she's able to do whatever she wants. And then when she leaves, it was like a well played game of chess.
That's beautiful. Which one's the last one? Section 7. Which one was it?
Section 7 was when they're both in the same room.
Oh,
that's when she finally comes out, and then she walks in and doesn't really interact with him. She just says, "Oh, just wait here," and then she goes and finishes off her final task, locks him in the room, and walks out.
Yeah,
and that's the last session. The session right before that was she's playing this desperate role, and then again the camera kind of skews between the two of them. I just love the placement in each of the sessions and how it's changing this power dynamic passively, where as a viewer you're not thinking about it actively, but you're already starting to feel this kind of difference, that it's not just Caleb going in and testing and then walking out and testing again. It would have been completely different if they kept the camera outside the entire time, or with Caleb, and you're constantly just talking to her. But the fact that we're drawn in, we get to be behind the glass wall. That's why we connect with Ava, and that's probably why you connected with Ava, because then we're not seeing her from the other side. We're in it with her. We're seeing her drawings. We're seeing her getting dressed. We're getting that intimate shot that we're not getting with anybody else at the beginning of the film. It's so
humanoid.
It's so intentional, and it does so much subconsciously, I think, that then it does control your emotions, because then you feel like, oh man, Ava really is conscious and can feel pain and can feel those complex emotions.
Yeah,
I think that's very true. I think that's why
the cinematography work is it's a testament.
Checkmate.
It's a testament for sure.
Fight me.
I like that. Good pick.
Rob Hardy is the cinematographer. He's done a ton, man. He's had a pretty prolific career, but most recently people might know him from he did the Mission Impossible Fallout film.
Oh wow.
He did Annihilation, which I've heard is something that people very value a lot. That film.
I've heard that interview with Matt Damon, where he's talking about Tom Cruise. Like, I've always wanted to do that, jumping out of the window.
Oh, I love it. He says, "So
I was talking
how
to
did you do this, man? How did you get this?" Well, I was talking to my safety guy about it.
I'm telling him everything, right? I'm jumping out. He looks at me. He's like, "Hey, we can't do that." I'm like, "Okay."
So I get a new safety guy.
So I'm talking to this new safety guy.
I love it.
When you gotta get the shot, you gotta get it, man.
Mission Impossible. But anyways, man,
Wow.
Rob Hardy, props, man. Fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic.
And Alex Garland, man, as a director.
First time, that's
terrific. It's terrific.
Really good team. I think they put something together really well.
I mean, lucky you, man. Look at the cast you got. Look at they wouldn't have shined without the cast. It wouldn't have shined. I mean,
I'll say that this was
impressive.
still like you said, Oscar Isaac before he kind of had as much of a punch as he does today. Now you look at him being a heavy hitter, but I mean back then I didn't know who he was as much.
Yeah,
but
neither.
I was really impressed.
by the way, Alex
too.
Garland he wrote 28 Days Later. He wrote The Beach. He wrote a lot before he kind of became who he was as a director. So he's been in the industry. He's learned some things, right? So, anyways, and it looks like he has quite a bit upcoming projects. But final thoughts, gentlemen. I think that's where we're at, right?
Did your rating change at all? You wanted to sit at an 8.8 if I'm not mistaken.
I'll move it up 0.1. I'll give it an 8.9.
Okay.
Just because, you know, it was really, it was a good story. Like you said, good compositions, good coloring and everything. It's just, yeah, I give it an 8.9. I'll pick it up a little bit more.
Okay.
Fair.
Did you go down?
No. I think I stayed the same.
Did the same?
I think I may go a little up, maybe 0.1, 0.2, maybe 8.2, but it's fine. I feel the same way about it.
It was hyped. I was just
I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I saw it. I wasn't quite what I was expecting, and in a good way. Yeah, I feel good about it. I feel good that I saw it. It's a good film.
I'm always a sucker, like I said at the beginning, where it's like man playing God. I'm just a sucker of like what type of directors take which perspective, what direction they're gonna go with it.
Yeah.
I just watching it now, I appreciate a lot more of the technical aspects of it,
Sure.
and the way cinematography played into telling the story and setting the emotional tone. And I think back
the observant eye and the filmmaker or the film appreciator will pay attention to that. But
originally,
the beautiful thing about this film that's relatively rare in cinema, it happens a lot in good cinema, is that you don't notice it.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the point. It sets up the world for you beautifully.
And I see our lovely producers ready to tell us his final thoughts. Rating of a 7.7,
Oh yeah,
going up to a
the lowest of the lowest.
7.6.
What?
Whoa, why?
I think it's the first time a rating goes down.
Just to spite the law.
All right, got it. That's fair.
And if Ava knew everything, why didn't she tell us where the dog killer was?
the dog killer is still out there.
Thank you, man.
Please be
Ava,
aware.
help us find the dog
I
killer.
need to.
I don't know what camera to look. I'm looking at this one, but I kind of look at this one a little
We're
bit.
looking at this one.
Yeah, this
This
one.
is my-
This is our close
this
one.
is our two-shot.
This is our buddy cop cam.
Do we do the buddy cop pose? Is that what?
Yeah.
Ava, help us. We're appealing to your human side if you have one.
No, but it's really weird. But the weird thing is that I don't want no spoilers, but it finishes just like Westworld, the first season.
Really?
Well, now I'm
Exactly.
gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, viewers.
I'd much rather have seen Evan Rachel Wood in this role. I'm kidding. She did great. Anyways, close. Yeah, it's great, man. How about you, pal? Any
20 out of 10 would watch again. No. I think it's a great film. I think it went from me really appreciating how it took these complex ideas and it created that kind of conversation, because I think when film can do that, it's really special. And now watching it, more knowledge on the technical front, it's just super impressive seeing what they were able to do. I don't know, small budget, and
15 mil budget,
yeah,
sure.
it just, I love how they created a sense of tone. I love the actors. We didn't talk about the score as much, but I mean,
Right.
it just was, I feel like you could take each of these elements and have a full-length conversation on them, or even just, these bigger themes, and you could have a good time after watching this film. So would recommend it to anybody who wants to give it a shot. If you like sci-fi, I think it's a well-executed sci-fi.
It's one of those bucket lists.
For sure. Must watch.
Check it out. And if you love sci-fi, if this is your cup of tea, you're gonna think I'm crazy.
And
I still put in a little bit in the psychological thriller too, because it's
that's because you are a psychological thriller, Castro. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you guys for tuning in. This was a great pick. Great pick for sure. And that was on my list forever, so I'm glad I saw it.
Is this episode gonna be before the 11th or way after?
No.
Breaking the
after?
fourth wall.
Oh no! The one we recorded last time is gonna be before.
Oh, okay.
It is gonna be before. Get
It's gonna
it?
air?
Yeah. Oh,
It's gonna go out on the 17th.
Which one?
The before
And then after that,
is the Tower cast.
and then after that.
This one.
So then the 11th one, are we airing it?
The 11th one.
The cafe one.
Is it gonna be the fourth one?
Well, that's what he's asking. This is gonna release before,
Before that episode, but not before the screen.
not in time for the screening. Yeah.
Austin, no one
My fault,
cares
guys.
on our release schedule.
Check out the next few episodes.
Wait.
guys.
You gotta start it naturally, so that way it doesn't just. Are we gonna keep in when we're trying to figure out the dates?
We don't
for
have
the-
to cut that. We don't have to cut it.
Because you
Yeah.
asked.
I don't
Oh
care. We don't
my
have to-
God,
we don't have to
okay.
Cut it out. I don't care. Listen, pay attention to the next few episodes. We're gonna do some really cool stuff before the end of the year. We have the Before trilogy. You may have already seen the episode. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then Elizabeth Avian, go check that out on the Towercast if you haven't. And then we have Hustle. Yeah? Or this?
This, then Hustle.
This
then Hustle.
Hustle is the next episode on the WatchTower podcast.
Okay, yeah.
And we do that live from Aaron and George's Film Cafe
Woo!
downtown in El Paso.
Can't wait.
We love the partnership we're establishing with them, man. They're just a great place to go to. If you haven't gone to check it out, go grab a coffee,
Yes.
some popcorn, watch a film. These are the types of businesses you film lovers, us, we should be supporting, man. This is it.
The screening-
It's free.
It's
Yeah,
free.
It's free. It's free.
Their screenings are free.
You don't have to pay to look at us now.
Pay for food and stuff and support them
Yes.
that way. But the screenings are free, man. This is insane. And our podcast recordings there will not be charged events. They will be free.
Yeah.
So please make it out there. Thank you guys for tuning in to the WatchTower podcast. Can we? The next pick is technically announced, but who's after you? Castro?
I thought it was.
Well, Austin's doing Hustle, but
Then Castro.
that's the release schedule.
Okay,
Yeah,
did
but
he?
You already know? Do we know?
Do we
Now
know?
that you mentioned right now, since we were talking about Mother, would you guys want to do Mother?
I'd be down
Have
for
you seen Mother?
I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember it was really good last time I
Who
watched
was
it.
It was the
Aronofsky?
ending is a little. Whoa, huh?
Aronofsky directed Mother, or who was it? Was it Darren?
I don't know with
Aronofsky?
Javier Bardem.
It was one of those
I
experimental dudes.
Well, next
Not
time
the-
on the WatchTower,
Mother. 2015, I think.
Yeah, 15, I think.
Something like that. But anyways, keep watching cinema. Keep collecting
Please.
home media. Keep supporting your local filmmakers, including Tower. We're working on some really cool stuff that we're going to announce soon. And stay tuned for the next things we're working on.
take care, everybody.
See you guys. Love you
Next
guys.
time to the WatchTower.